Hello, my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and we are beginning a new season of a new show that's kind of running in parallel to the show that we just did of Star Trek Adventures Second Edition. This is Starbase Eschaton. And the premise of this, I'm going to go over in a minute. This is a series playing with Star Trek Adventures Second Edition. So that's what we're playing from. This is part of the Open Hearth Gaming Community, which is an online gaming community slash club that has a bunch of games that happens each month. You can find out more about that at openhearthgaming.com. We play with safety tools. We've got a community code of conduct. And I'll throw it out there that we do a free open gaming weekend that is happening at the beginning of October. So we've just kind of put that on the schedule. We're getting events in there. So you should check that out. We have a podcast from the community and actually several podcasts in our sort of community podcast feed now that we've got running now in parallel. So you can find links to that on our information page. So I'm going to go through kind of the cats of this. The concept is we've got Eschaton Station. This is Starbase 66, and this has been a backwater crossroads station. It's an older station. It is in the middle of space that is argued and kind of contested, maybe just dead space between several smaller, slightly ignored empires outside of Federation space. Hydran, Zinti, Lyran, there are a number of those. And we're not paying attention to the map as it's drawn out. This is our conceptual map of the universe. So Starbase 66 has for years been a kind of a stopover place to other more important places and flashpoints. It has some things on the surface of the planet down below, Eschaton 4. And this is all held the same for years until just recently, a few months ago, the megastructure appeared, what they've called the Tantalus Object. It is a massive alien megastructure that appeared in orbit. It caused weather changes down below. It nearly crashed into the station, but it assumed a kind of parallel position to Eschaton in orbit. It is a megastructure that seems to be made up of multiple parts, and we'll talk about that in kind of our setting building in a little bit. Now, this has appeared, it's become a flashpoint, it's gotten the interest of many different species, many different peoples. The problem is, of course, this is all happening as in the background, the Federation is at war with the Dominion. So that Dominion War is ongoing as of the start of this series, because it is running sort of parallel to our Kintsugi series. DS9 is under Cardassian Dominion control, and Bajor is occupied again. So we're kind of in the middle of that. There are many people who would like to uncover the secrets, but so many other factors are at play here. Uh, so that's the basics. We are playing station personnel. There's going to be on-station work. Eventually we'll go on to the megastructure. There's some things on the planet we'll figure out. We'll switch around stories. There'll be bottle episodes. There'll be off-the-ship episodes, all of that kind of thing, which is one of the strengths for Star Trek Adventures, allowing you to play your main character or playing a secondary character as we swap around. Obviously, the touchstones for this are DS9, but also I would say Babylon 5. There's a lot there. Uh, there's something to my mind of that kind of sci-fi exploration with a kind of a set thing that we might consider Stargate as a thematic tie as well. And basically any TV show that has a central location, characters come in, things happen on that show. Which is why when I talk about approach or aim, so Functionally, I tend to run these sessions like a TV show, with the opening teaser, with the crawl, voiceover, all of those things, commercial breaks, describing all of that. We'll give There you go. Uh, with that, one of the things I tend to do is an episode is two sessions. So, the first session is going up to the mid episode commercial break, and then the second half of the episode is our second session. Occasionally, depending on if we get bumps or things like that, we may do one session episodes, particularly if we do a lower decks episode at some point here. But I do tend to approach things from that dramatic perspective. I am not a stickler for the rules of this, and I will tend to go with what's easy and quickest at the moment rather than going and looking at the book. Tone-wise, I would say that DS9 is probably a good reference point, because there is this war in the background and there is a little bit of tension. It's certainly a show that has a little bit some harder edges to it. But at the same time, it is a show about a found family and people, doing their daily lives in this crossroads. And so that very much, again, Star Trek is very much my tone. And there's some mechanisms in the game that definitely play into that. For example, if you set your phasers to kill, that gives me threat points that I get to use. When you heighten the stakes in that way, the game does try to keep us to that, and we are going to lean into that. With that, I want to talk about safety. We have a layer set of safety tools that I know all of you have used before that we're going to be approaching again. We have lines, which are things that I consider like hard lines. We don't go into that. These aren't topics that we're going to be exploring. Veils are things, topics, details that might come up in play, but if they do, we're either going to talk about them at a distance or we're going to fade to black when those things come up. And then ask first is for anything that, I'm good with that being a topic, something we deal with, but I would like us to check in before that happens here. Uh, so everybody has a chance to add on to that. If there's anything that is absent from that list that you want to add, please feel free to do that. The second thing that we have is the X card. The X card is our reactive tool. The X card we use to mark out material that is objectionable, that is problematic, that is wildly off tone. The X card, we can probably, you could do this, but most people are just going to say, I want to X card that. When you X card something, we excise it. The one question that we might have is like, how far back do we need to go to eliminate this thing, eliminate this problem? You are welcome to explain why you've made that choice to X card something, but you are not required to. You're not required to defend your choice of a safety tool. And again, the X card is always in play, even for things that have maybe occurred a couple of times. If they start to bother you later, you are welcome to X card that. X card's also in my play if we need to stop and we need to recalibrate on a scene, we need to pause and figure out maybe what the stakes are, or we need to consider about fast forwarding or slowing down, all those things that we might do that. For me, the X card is also useful for that, especially if maybe we start to head towards something that we've got marked as a line or marked as a veil, and I've forgotten and haven't noted that we're heading that way. The last tool that we're using, well, I always get this wrong. The next tool we're using, we do have a romance matrix for players to express their interest of romance with NPCs, with PCs, and or if you'd like to have that checked in on first. So the last tool actually is our open door policy, which, as you know, just means that if you need to leave, you are welcome to leave. You're welcome to step away for whatever reason, cat attack, someone at the door, any of those things. If you can tell us that you're going to be back, that's great, but you're not not required to do that. It also means that if we get to playing along and if something else come up or it's you're realizing that this is not the series that you want to play in, you are no harm, no foul to drop to tell me that you're not coming back, and I will not judge anyone who does that ever. So just know that that is always out there. So those are all of the big things that we have in mind. Uh, I want to talk about the mechanical process for rolling, and then I want to move to having us give our basic character introductions. My intent today is this is a kind of a session zero. Have you introduce your characters? Then we're going to put ourselves on the station. You don't have to give us too much. I'm going to give you a chance to flash back when we see you on the station for our first episode setup. But you can tell us some things about your abilities and career events and that kind of thing. For roles, whenever you go to do anything, any task is going to be read by a combination of an attribute and a department. Often it'll be obvious which, but sometimes I'll ask you in that kind of blades in the dark way, well, what do you think it is? And you can make your argument for why you should be using your strongest stat at that point. But any task will be a combination of those two things. And that's the number, the target number that you need to roll under on 2d20. You are almost always rolling 2d20. You can get more dice, but by default, it's always 2d20. The only common exception is if you're helping someone, then they're rolling 2d20 and you just get to roll one. But most of the time, it's going to be 2d20. When you get a task and you're thinking about it, the first thing that you want to check is, do I have a focus that applies in this? Are one of the things that I have listed as a focus, does that apply to the task that I'm doing? Because that's going to give you a big edge. So that's the first thing you want to consider. For example, let's say that we have Bathali is doing a control plus command task, and it's related to logistics. Command and control for Bathali is a 14. So rolling 2d20, and anything that is a 14 or less counts as a success. We're trying to get usually 2 successes. If you roll a 1 on any of those d20s, it's a critical. And criticals are 2 successes, so doubles what you get. If you have a focus, that basically increases your crit range so that it's equal to your department that you used. So now with Bathali rolling this, control is a 10, command is a 14, as a 4. So it's a 14 or less is success, a 4 or less is 2 successes. That's the big thing. So first thing you always want to check is, do I have a focus that's going to apply here? Now, when you go to roll, you've got 2 resources that you can use to do better. The first of these is basically a once per session. You've got 1 point of determination. Everyone starts with that 1 point of determination. And if you want to use that determination to help your roll, you have to look at one of your values and say which of your values applies to that. If you spend the determination before you roll, you just get 2 successes. Like you get a die that's set at a 1 and it's set off to the side and it counts as 2 successes. If you had a bunch of dice and you didn't spend your determination beforehand and you messed up rolling every die, Dan, then afterwards you can spend your determination to re-roll any of those dice that you want to, including if you had like an assisting ship's die, you could do that. The other thing that you can do is if you have momentum in the momentum pool, this is off to the side. This builds up over time. If you have momentum, you can buy an extra die. You can buy yourself, so you have 3d20. It costs 1 momentum for 1 extra die. After that, it gets increasingly more expensive. So it is almost never worth spending more than 1 momentum to buy that extra die, because the second die costs you 3 points. So it's a lot. So basically, if you're going to be spending momentum, you'll probably be spending one. Momentum is generated when you get more successes than you needed for a roll. We'll see that in play, and I'll get that in there. The other option you have, and I think that you should take this up as many times as possible, is if you want an extra die and there's no momentum in the momentum pool, or there's very little and you don't want to take it because you're going to feel guilty doing it, you can give me, your friendly GM, a point of threat. And then that threat will give you that extra die, and I just get a point of threat that I can then spend to use against you later. So uh, that is my momentum pool there. Uh, that's the basic things. We'll talk about helping dice and using equipment and things later, but just to know, we look at attribute and department and then immediately check, is one of my focuses applicable here? Because focuses are powerful, you may see me go, I don't think that applies here. Sometimes there. Sometimes I'll be generous, but sometimes not. So we're going to go to the main characters, the character keeper here, and I'm going to ask, go around and have people introduce themselves. Want to check in one last time? We're going to go back to the safety tab and like state out loud what we've chosen as our lines and veils right now. Again, we can add on to this. Right now, for play, we have hard lines on cannibalism, eye injuries, harm to children, and sexual assault. So those topics are off the table. We have veils on any kind of graphic gore, harm to animals, sexual content, and torture.
Excuse me. I
Yes,
do have a question.
absolutely.
I assume since we are on a station, there will be children on the station, right?
I would assume so, yes.
Yes, but if the station is harmed, that does not come under the line. We will assume the children are
Oh,
fine.
absolutely. We always
Okay.
assume that the kids are safe. In
Yes.
fact, we'll see,
Okay.
we'll get a shot of somebody evacuating them as they do on the
Okay.
show, running them out of the classroom and whatnot.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And then ask first if we were going to have mind control as a plot element. We'll check in on that. PC betrayal. We'll check in on that. Dan is playing a character with some alternate agendas there, so that'll be one we want to check in on. And then a suicide as a topic. We will also have an ask first on that. So with that in mind, oh, actually, do I want to do that first? Let's do character introductions and then we'll talk palette and then we'll do the setup for the megastructure because I have some setup questions there. Does that seem reasonable for folks? Just so we know what everybody is playing before we kind of make some calls. Dan, you are in the hot seat there in column one. So tell us about your character.
Sure. This is Buntali Tkarnig. She's relatively young, but she grew up, her family was in kind of trade and cargo transportation and things like that. She was a little um, not frustrated, but sort of wanted to see the wider world beyond that. So she joined Starfleet, but her expertise in those areas made her ideal for logistics and supply and things like that. So she is very much entrenched in that operations type world. And just on a mechanical note, it looks like Khan, the department, also deals with starship operations. So not
Mhm.
just piloting, but so that's why she has she's not a pilot, but she has a lot in Khan because she deals with starship operations.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense for moving cargo, for doing logistics, that kind of thing, where you're handling yourself rather than, delegating to others. Absolutely.
I think she her first tour was on a very large starship, and they got caught in an alternate dimension. So she sort of experienced the reality and the dangers of exploring space. That just made her even more excited to do it. And then, kind of in another mission, she was essential in negotiating a treaty between two, I don't know, parties. And it's in that I think she was recruited by Federation intelligence to also be a spy. Um, so it's been a few years, but I kind of picture her in sort of the equivalent of like early 30s in terms of her age. So still relatively young. Um, she's actually kind of excited to be assigned to the Eschaton. Um, she has a very strong sense of duty and sees this as a real kind of interesting opportunity, even though it's likely that part of this assignment came from within Federation intelligence as a way of kind of cutting her down a notch. She doesn't see it like that. I think
Okay.
she has something she needs to prove to Federation intelligence. She's an Andorian, so she comes from a nice planet, and one of her favorite things to do, she maintains an aquarium of fish and other aquatic life
Nice.
uh, from her homeworld, Andorra.
Uh, how are you imagining the Andorians? We've gotten a couple of different depictions of them in the different series. What do you think is like the key thing to know about those Andorians?
Um, uh, I I really liked the depiction from Strange New Worlds. That's obviously the most recent one that I've seen. Um, she's not blind, but I think growing up kind of on a giant snowball um, uh, made her gruff, almost humorless
Okay.
too. Um, and so, although she has some enthusiasm, I would not say she's not sort of exuberant in that enthusiasm. She's just excited to do her duty.
Uh, this alternate dimension that you were in, is it a mirror universe? Were you in fluid space? Was it just a weird parallel reality? What do you think that
Yeah,
was?
I haven't thought about this at all. I think it's I like the idea of a mirror universe.
Okay.
And it was, let's say, maybe the non-human crew members of her previous ship, so a smaller number of people, were not experiencing the side effects of this alternate dimension. So she was sort of one of a small number of people who had to kind of rescue the crew from this alternate mirror universe dimension.
Neat. I like it. All right. I think that gives us a good sense of who you are. And you are the highest ranking. Well, actually, you and Castor are the two lieutenant commanders here. Uh, let's come to Donna.
Yeah. So I'll be playing Joanne Lau, who is a Trill, a joined Trill. Um, and I think, relatively experienced, but with a lower rank than you would expect for a chief science officer. Um, I think in his early life, he grew up on a science station, maybe an orbital station, or maybe a moon in the system of Trill, and really went all out on science as a way of life. Um, I think in terms of career events, I studied archaeotechnology, so has some experience with strange devices from the long distance past already, and also death of a friend, which I think is maybe something early on in the Dominion War, where one of those Oberth science vessels gets, like acts as a barely speed bump to some Dominion vessels. And I think maybe we have something like where he and a crew member are in this slowly failing escape pod, um, and are barely rescued. Well, he is barely rescued in time, too late for his crewmate who maybe was injured.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, go
yeah.
on.
Um, but I think despite all of this is kind of, upbeat, full of wonder at the marvels of the universe. Um, Uh, Strangely enough, given all of these focuses I've given him to do with various interface devices like computers and tricorders, um, one of his values is sensors can't tell you everything, so likes to get up and close and actually touch the things, which I'm sure will cause no problems at all.
Absolutely.
Uh, um, what else is kind of
Tell us how
interesting?
the joined thing works in play in this. I haven't had a joined trail before.
Yeah, so it is a talent. Um, and you basically, during every adventure, you can name a previous host and you can create two additional focuses which are extant just for that adventure. So, hey, my last host was a famous warrior, and therefore I can just pull phaser or hand to hand out of thin air. Though my scores they won't do much good. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think it's a good opportunity to build on the kind of history of the symbiont rather than I mean mechanically I guess it'll be useful, but
And like uh, the archaeotechnology, did you kind of fall into that? Did you have an experience that led you to explore that? Do you know how did you come for that to be your path, you think?
yeah, I almost think that it would have been some um dimly recalled memory of a long gone host, and maybe the memories are a little bit hazy, and discovered this ruin or something like that, which then I kind of went wholeheartedly into figuring it out. Um, so yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, there are two options here, like this kind of advanced ancient kind of devices, or maybe like crude pre-warp devices. So maybe it was an old Trill world, maybe like a a forgotten world, not in that system, something like that in Trill history.
I dig it. I dig it. All right. Uh, let's come next to Robbie.
Hi, I am playing Ensign Gop, she, her pronouns. Just before I get into it, if I do blink out periodically, please just continue on because I've had some Wi-Fi issues during I have a tropical system parked over
Oof.
us, right? So, um, but um, but yeah, Ensign Gop is a going to be a recent arrival at the station. She's not really totally keen on being here. She sees this new assignment as something of a demotion, even though it's not officially a demotion, but it's not an assignment because she has a lot of experience with engines and the kind of engineering and mechanics of that, and also a little bit of experience with um, small craft and piloting vessels. And she's kind of wondering, what is there going to be for me to do on a station, right? She So she's in the engineering department. She is not the chief engineer, but is I guess you know still kind of would be considered as having a lot of expertise in various engineering areas. Two of my focuses are fusion reactors and also electroplasma power systems. Um, uh, my career events required to take command is one of them. I was previously on a small science vessel, called the Nautilus, and I think there was a situation where we were interacting with a an alien species that was, we had fairly recently contacted. They seemed really nice, seemed very friendly. But as any Ferengi will tell you, the bigger the smile, the sharper the knife. And I was sent down during to this planet during a negotiation, and it became very clear to me that there was some type of mind control that was happening. Ferengi thankfully are uh, uh, have some defenses against mind control, but things got kind of dicey down there, and I had to kind of take things into my own hand when I saw the commander science vessel acting strangely and kind of clearly coming under the influence of some type of mind control situation, and managed to get the commander and the others on the away team back. But I had to, in a fairly big way, pull rank in order to get us out of that dicey situation. And I've also kind of proven myself. There was later on an engineering crisis that I was able to successfully solve. It involved the kind of plasma systems on the ship, and that was one of my kind of things that I really got into in terms of studying things at the academy. Oh, and what brought me to the academy? I mean, as a Ferengi, we're still battling under rather sexist ideas. Not everybody in Ferengi society has those kind of older, outworn traditional ideas, but they are still lingering. And so I've kind of looked to getting into Starfleet as a way of hopefully finding my way to an environment where I can be judged on my own merits without having kind of biases that I still see among some Ferengis. They kind of cloud their judgments.
And we're going to start with you arriving and kind of trying to find your place in this engineering department of this ship. The engineering crisis that you solved, do you think it was like something on board the ship? Was it something on a away mission? Was it something else?
Yeah, it was during another away mission, but it had to do with on that mission I was kind of piloting a it was kind of an away ship, right?
Okay, like a runabout.
Yes, a runabout. It wasn't safe to use the transporters because of some radioactive interference that was happening. And the ship ran into a situation where we suddenly lost power to the drive, and I was able to successfully both get some minimal power to the drive, and then using some gravity fluctuations that were part of the area to kind of slingshot us around a bit to kind of get us out of that little mess.
Awesome. Awesome. last but not least, Sabine.
Yeah. So I am going to play Lieutenant Commander Castor Skella. Castor is a Betazoid. He had a bit of a rough childhood. He grew up on a derelict and soon to be destroyed colony, smuggler's nest, basically. His mother was a smuggler. His father was a bar pianist. And then he grew up there, and I think he did not like the whole smuggling stuff. And when Starfleet came to the rescue because of some shit that had went down, he jumped at the chance to join up there. And because it was Starfleet security who'd done the rescuing, that was what he chose. A Betazoid, he's an empath. He's not a telepath, but he's a full Betazoid. He's an empath that it's not always quite easy, but sometimes it's very useful. He has some training hand-to-hand combat because, you've got to focus, and he doesn't like phasers. He prefers hand-to-hand combat. That's just feels more personal. I don't know what to say about this. He's also very good at de-escalating situations. That is basically what his main thrust. If in any crisis, he'll first try to de-escalate stuff. But he's also good at first aid. And as his career events, he invented a new battle strategy. And I think he might have been in Eschaton Station before, but was pulled away for the war because, you needed security personnel. And so he was serving during the war as a security officer. And the battle strategy that he devised was basically like, okay, we have a Jemadar, there we have a Cardassian, and they have very different focuses in battle. Like the Jemadar, they just want to destroy the enemy. The Cardassians are a little more pragmatic, coming to their own survival. That doesn't always gel well. You can just if you maneuver cleverly, you can just turn them against each other, or at least distract them and goad them with this. So that was that, and then, or that was probably early undercover work that he did with because he has experience with smuggling and the smuggler syndicate from the planet he was from. So he was sent to do some undercover work because I think somebody had the bright idea that Ketracel White is a drug, right? So let's give it to everyone. People probably will thrive on that. People do not thrive on that. Most of them, at least. So he was able to kind of expose that smuggling ring without throwing his older contacts under the bus, basically. And then I think after a while in the war, he was like, nope, I'm heading for burnout. This is not good for me. Send me back to the station. And he put in a request, and the request was granted. And so he's been back for, I think, a couple of months, and is now head of station security.
Was it just the accumulated experience of being at war as a Betazoid, or do you think it was a specific? Okay, just okay.
I think maybe there was a specific trigger, but maybe it was during that battle with the battles with the Jemadar and the Cardassians, where we were really overmatched and we took heavy losses. And I couldn't save everyone, which, okay, of course I couldn't, but you
mentioned kind of fighting close up. I noticed you've got martial philosophies as a thing focus. Do you is it purely unarmed, or do you like have a signature weapon like Worf has with the bat laugh or something?
I don't think he has found a signature weapon yet.
Okay.
He's been muddling about, but he's interested. He's keeping his options open.
All right. And the rules text for empathy is on the species talents there. It's actually G24.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
So the species talents plus. Yeah. So you can actually, in fact, even just replace the text of your the telepathic with that.
Okay.
Because it'll be easier to work with. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I did not find that.
Yeah, no, it's buried down below all those. That's next to cybernetics and psychic stuff. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I want to bring us back to the palette tab. And we're going to be asking some questions about megastructure. We're going to be establishing some facts about that, about the station, about the planet. But I want to start with kind of a general thing. I want to go around and see if there are things that you as a player are more interested in seeing in episodes or less interested in seeing in the episodes. If there are things, that you would like to definitely see or would like to back burner. And I'm just going to go around, and if you have something, we'll add it to that on either side. Uh, Bantali, anything for the palette?
Um, I don't know if Montali wants this, but Dan wants holodeck time.
Okay.
Spending a lot of time in the holodeck on that. I feel like we didn't do as much of that.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe even see if we can get a particular holodeck centered
Yes.
adventure there at least once. Okay.
Did you have a list of possible B plots?
Yes.
Is that
If you go to the Discord, I think I put the link to the B plot document there.
thanks?
Uh, Donna, anything more, less interested in?
Um, I mean, the mishmash of kind of civilizations in this artifact is kind of clear from the pitch, and I wonder if whether or not these species are part of the Federation. There's some I guess wrangling over who might own it, or who might be due um, what's coming from it.
Okay. So ownership wrangling, having some political
Yeah,
dimension to that. Okay.
and
I
I
like
and I know
that.
the Andorians are part of that, so maybe Dan, you can have fun.
Uh, Robbie, anything more interested in seeing, less interested in seeing?
So I'm interested in seeing. Um, I mean, I just in terms of is this specifically in terms of the station or just in general in terms
For
of
our
the
for our show, for our
for our
show, is
show?
there anything you'd like? Ooh, this is the kind of thing I want to see in the show, or this is the kind of thing I don't want to see in the show.
I mean, I definitely um I like it when Star Trek gets to the more kind of personal level. I mean, right? It's about you know uh, certainly it's about adventures and things of that sort. But I do love the scenes where right those kinds of more um, really
Yeah.
character
Okay.
internal right. I mean, I think all of our characters have those kinds of you know personal stories that they're working with, and I like to see that.
Okay. Yeah. Let's say personal level character episodes. I think that makes sense. We've got very different characters. We've all got interesting backgrounds that we can certainly play off of. You know, this is our Ensign Gop episode. As the A plot. Uh,
Nice.
the caster.
Yeah, I think I might be interested in at least some of the, let's say, day-to-day life of the station, like dealing with the various crises that might happen there, be they engineering or martial or criminal or what have you, right?
Okay.
Or
Absolutely.
science stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
that
think
would
that's
be.
super fair to say. Donna, anything else you want to add to more or less interested in?
Um, I guess I'm kind of interested in a mix of what we might get from the artifact. Maybe one week it's awe-inspiring wonder, and then the following week it's awe-inspiring terror, and then the next week it's, oh, these are the kind of forks that these ancient peoples used.
Okay,
Uh,
I like it. I like it. Dan?
Another pretty boring one, but I really like it when the deflector dish. Do we have a deflector dish on this thing?
You must have a deflector dish.
Yeah. Well, the deflector dish always solves the hardest problems, and I would like us to do that.
Deflector dish solutions.
Yeah.
I love it. Robbie, anything else to more interested in or less interested in?
Yeah, nothing I can think of right
I
now.
think that's fair to say. Caster?
I mean, I've got the lead investigator ability, talent. I mean, I would like to have something that would lean into that
Okay.
at least once or twice. You know?
Absolutely. Got to
Like
have a
having
mystery.
yeah, something like that.
All right. We can do that. Donna, anything else?
Um, I mean, I guess, and maybe this is something to put in the less interested in.
Okay.
I think this is less of an issue, like when we're stuck in a station, or at least in a single kind of orbit. Easy answers. I'm not interested in easy answers to 42-minute problems.
Okay.
We're not flying away at the end of an episode, right? We're
Absolutely.
stuck where we're stuck.
That is one of the things. This is a place you have to live day to day, ongoing there. Bantali?
In the more interested in, I was wondering if we could have an android character NPC. We did not, if I recall. We had an augmented human, but we didn't have.
Okay.
Oh no, that's in the more
No,
interested.
I'm putting it,
Sorry.
moving it over.
In the
Okay, absolutely.
in the less interested, um, I mean, is time travel sort of permanently in less interested, or
Well, now that you've said it, I'll put time travel in our less interested. I think that's fair. And as we said before, with the time travel that we then have to deal with the paradoxes and figuring things out is less interesting to people. Sabine, anything else you want to add?
I don't know if this is the less interested or in the more interested or how to phrase this, but I don't like it when things return to the status quo after something dramatic has happened.
Okay.
So like change having an impact, basically.
Okay. So less interested in the status quo reset. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to add to that palette? Okay. So we're going to ask some questions here. I'm going to go down now to below that to the megastructure. Feel free to poll the table. I'm going to give everybody individual questions on this. Feel free to poll the table, narrow it down to a few things and poll the table, or go with the idea and check in. It is up to you. Dan Buntali. So the Federation this is around Eschaton 4. They've been calling this megastructure the Tantalus Object. And it's also they've called it, Eschaton Anomaly 23. But what is the popular name for it? I've got some examples there, and for all of these, I've got some examples, but there's also, like, if you want to come up with something else, you should absolutely do that.
oh, I feel like I want to know what it looks like first.
Okay.
Uh, like I imagine they would come up with a name that's sort of based on what it looks like.
So here's what we know.
Okay.
We know that it is made up of 7 sections that are joined together, and each one seems to be from a different civilization, and they're uncertain how this thing is joined together. At least one of them, as we're going to see here, there is a section where you can kind of see maybe it's Proto-Andorian, and then there are other ones, and each section is very different. So it is a wild patchwork that seems to defy logic.
Um, how do people feel about Frankenstein?
Folks like that? Here, we can make it
Because we're sort of it's, I mean, obviously Frankenstein's a monster, but we just call it Frankenstein. And I think we are, I don't know, that's the fact that it was kind of put together from lots of different parts was what jumped out at us first.
here. How about Frankenstein 7? Just to kind of add a little character there.
That sounds good.
Okay. Donna, besides this seemingly Andorian section, we've at least one of the other sections has been kind of tentatively identified, or researchers have guessed, or that society is claimed. What is the other culture that maybe got signs of their connection to?
I feel like we have a motif from our last series of rehabilitating the Gorn, right? So I'd like to see something of the Gorn here.
Okay. All right. Ensign Gop. They know that the station is not dead. They know that there's something active there. How have, oh, and I've got the wrong text there. Hang on one second. Let me grab the real text that should be in that box. Hang on one second. Problem with cutting and pasting from different documents. How have they determined that there is something active? What is this? What have they gotten? What have they picked up that tells us this?
I like the choices. Let me think.
And if you want to combine a couple too, it's also fine.
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I think um, it is putting out signals, and I think that they initially didn't think it was they thought it might just be something kind of natural, but now there's thoughts that it is something coded, possibly, but very complicated, and they haven't been able to break the code. And I think also some changes on the surface that have been inexplicable, right? Where they've taken been doing some careful imaging of the surface, and they think, sometimes they think that they've made some mistake or there was some kind of equipment malfunction, but right, they're kind of now thinking, oh, maybe it's not just distortion effects or things like that, but there are actually some changes on the surface that are happening.
I like it. I like it. So the actual material of the megastructure, we haven't been able to, as they do it, we've never seen this material before. Classic, sci-fi thing. It defies kind of this external analysis from the station. One appears as if it's like made of sharp and angular marble, like it has that look and gloss to it. So Sabine, Castor, what is the unusual look of another one of these sections?
I think that is bristling with surface structures, and it isn't clear if these structures serve an actual purpose, if they are sensors or something, or if this just artistic. Because it kind of, some of these things repeat. There are archers, there are small little turrets in spiral form, so they kind of look pretty, but is that, nobody knows if that is the purpose of these things, and there might be a little bit of debate here.
I like it. And then, Dan, I'm going to wrap back around to you. I'm going to ask you that same question. We've got one section of marble. We've got one section bristling with these structures. What is another of the 7 sections?
I like opaque bubbles.
Okay.
Who doesn't like opaque bubbles? Sorry,
Okay.
I was muted.
So a bubbled section, vast bubbles and smaller ones. Like, is it cast that way? Did something happen? It's really uncertain. By the way, these are the 3 sections that on screen, these are the ones that we see. Like this is the one they've rendered with CG when they do the shots of it,
Right.
so that they can eventually reveal some of the other sections later on in the season as is necessary. Eschaton 4, planet down below, has a mining station and it has a research station. Lieutenant Lal or Joran, what is the mining station on the planet excavating? And by the way, I've typed that miming, but we'll go with mining station. What are they excavating? Invisible boxes.
Invisible watches, yeah. I mean, I like the idea. I mean, even though I have no idea what they're used for, magnetic monopoles.
Okay.
And maybe they're mined only at the poles of the planet, and there's like twin systems which are linked in some technical manner. Maybe there's like a surface thing and then a tethered station above.
I like it. Uh, uh, okay. Uh, Robbie, Gop, uh, what is an unusual feature of this planet?
Why don't we say I'm going to connect 2 of them.
Okay.
It's migrating jungles, which are caused. I mean, you know, you think about how long it would take for a jungle to migrate, right? I mean, it's not exactly changing weather, but the planet we know goes through a kind of profound profound periods of kind of warming and cooling over different sections. It doesn't happen over the course of weeks or months, but it's very regular, right?
Okay.
It's not like global warming where it's just going to be one single event, right? But over the course of regular course of years, there are these kind of regular environmental changes constantly happening. So you have like the jungle sections that are actually moving around the planet, right?
Yeah.
Times when it moves to the equator, and then times when the jungles are moving more towards the poles as we get through these different periods.
I like it. Lieutenant Commander Castor, we have a science station that's on the planet, a little research outpost that is an aquatic one. That is out oceanic station there. What are the relations between that station and on the planet, those scientists, and Eschaton Station?
I think I will combine a couple of things, right?
Okay.
I think there is some secretive research going on, maybe with a weird new director, but there's also suspected smuggling coming in. It's not clear. I mean, they don't talk about what they're researching there. Their director is a bit funny, and you just really don't know, or at least Eschaton Station doesn't actually know what they're doing. They're probably saying that they're researching weather patterns or something, but right, they don't talk.
All right. I think that's good. Now we come to the station itself. This station is outdated. It is somewhere between the beautiful next-gen stations and the early TOS stations. We're kind of in between there. But again, as opposed to DS9, which is kind of built very horizontally, this is a classic Star Trek, got a lot of verticality to the station with levels and things like that. Bontali, we're going to get two of these. You get the first pick. What is an unusual feature of the station? And again, one of these I've got there on the list or something else.
I think I think it's got an arboretum,
Okay.
and it's maybe left over from when it was connected somehow to research on the planet, building off of those migrating forests.
Okay. And Lieutenant Joran, what is another unusual feature of the station?
I mean, I want to say a captain's yacht.
Okay.
I'm sure Ensign Golf will have fun.
Yeah, it has a very nice captain's yacht unusually here. That's our spaceship that will be featured in various episodes. Yeah, I like it. Now, uh, the ship, the station also has two ongoing problems. And Singap, what is one of those ongoing problems?
Um, I like the idea. Um, what about the idea of the territorial maintenance AI? But could we make it, some of the the station has kind of AI systems operating that sometimes, to put it nicely, get too creative in unexpected ways, and sometimes ways that aren't particularly useful, but actually have caused kind of problems because the AI apparently has gotten into its head that there's a better way to do something, even if it's not actually a better way.
Okay, yeah. It gives us an interesting hook for a story. And Lieutenant Castor, what is another ongoing problem?
They're also good. I mean, I'm tempted to say smuggler network, but I think, and I also love the rogue holo counselor, but I think I'm going with excessive licensed trade stalls. Like there's
Okay.
all these trade stalls, and I mean they might still be smugglers. You never know.
Oh yeah, well
Right.
we've already got the implication of
Mhm.
smugglers from the science facility, so we definitely have that as
Yeah.
a
And
thing.
we have a lot of trade stalls because someone thought, yeah, having trade stalls, that's a good idea on a space station. And then, well, here, you get a license, you get a license, you also get a license.
Yeah, so we have too many of these. Our promenade is sort of packed
Yeah,
with those
yeah.
of various qualities.
Mhm.
Uh, Come back to Lieutenant Commander Bontali. Uh, why is a portion of the station closed off?
I had an idea that's not on this list. You tell me how
Please.
you feel about
Yeah.
this. And that is that we had to close a portion of the station off because we were hosting a diplomatic attaché of a species that needed a unique atmosphere.
I'm going to hold. I have that coming up actually. So
Well,
literally, that is part of the plot we're going to see in the second half of
okay,
this
okay, okay.
thing.
I'm sorry to step on your punchline.
No,
I feel bad now.
I no, I love it because it tells me
Um,
that you're interested in that. So now I'm like,
Very much
good.
so. Um, Then I'm going to go with um, I think the AI system has blocked us off for some reason, and we have not been able to discern or convince the AI system otherwise.
Okay. Nice connection to the previous one. Lieutenant Giron, this ship is old and there are ongoing repairs, but there is one section that has perpetually a breach. And mechanically, after a certain number of breaches, that system goes down. So we kind of start on a back foot for that. Is that comms? Is that computers, weapons, engines, sensors, or structure?
I wonder if it is comms. Maybe, engineering is divided on what's causing it. Is it an old-fashioned problem, or is the AI system just screening your calls?
I love it. Engineering uncertain, like they've tried to fix it, but there's debates about it. They're not sure why it is happening that way.
Yeah,
Uh
I'm sure the engineers are saying it's okay for me.
yes. When I run the test, it comes out normal. I don't know
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
going on. Uh Ensign Gop, the station currently has refugees. There are probably a number of different clusters of refugees. We've in the previous series we've talked about the fact that they've been evacuating colonies and things in the face of Dominion attacks and things like that. But what kind of refugees are like we're going to see on screen like a big thing at least at the start here?
I, I'm intrigued by the Wildcat surveyors because, if, the Wildcat survey, if they were refugees, right, we would feel sorry for them. But I think maybe there's also a sense that they might be opportunists given this new structure that, if they're Wildcat surveyors, that some of them may be also looking to take advantage of the um, the the Tantalus object
Yeah.
to do some more wildcat surveying,
They,
even though
they
they have fallen afoul of that, right?
they're evacuated from other mining colonies that end up here and they're like, well, we're miners, what can we do?
Yeah.
And they're looking at the planet, they're looking at that, the structure. I love it. uh Last thing, uh Lieutenant Commander Castor, we've identified Administrator Morale. She's a Denobulan. Denobulans are famously family oriented, but what is a positive trait and a negative trait of our administrator?
Oh, wow. I think I think the positive one might be that she's a compromiser. That is a positive trait in the whole thing. I think in the negative one that I had something here. Oh, she's non-confrontational.
Okay.
That kind of ties into each other, right? She likes compromises, but she doesn't like to push people too much.
Absolutely. I think that makes sense given that we have a person who is, with the Federation, but they're kind of on the civilian side, administration overseeing the station. They're a little unused to the kind of hard nose that these new circumstances may require. All right, we're going to take our break. We're going to take 10, and we are going to come back to the start of this episode. So, Castor, you said you wanted to change a little with the Mirai pick there?
Yeah, I thought the positive compromiser and the non-confrontational might be too similar. So I thought maybe she's devious instead as a
Okay.
positive.
Positive as a devious. Okay.
Yeah, I
I
mean
like that.
she's clever.
Okay. I think that works. So we most Star Treks, we start in space. We're not in space. I think we start inside the station, and I think it takes us a second to orient ourselves as to, are we on a planet or what? Uh, Lieutenant Commander Castor, when the camera comes in and shows us this area with these licensed stalls, what do we see? Does it look like a a marketplace? Does it look more like a mall? Like what do we see there that is this place, and we know that it's kind of a problem. How do we know that?
I think what we see is it's more like a marketplace, basically. There are some stores set in the malls, like you'd usually expect in a mall, and they're all occupied, but there are a lot of more concession stands in the throughway. There are little carts, there are little stands, there are just people with these kind of things that you wear on your body, and they are hawking stuff. And how we know that that is a problem. I mean, these people are really, some of them are really aggressive, and they're not regular food fights or fist fights or anything, but sometimes there are shouting matches, and there's a little pushing. And there's a lot of going on anyway. There are a lot of people going through the thoroughfare, and trying to find something is a nightmare. You can see some people standing at the steel where you can look at where is that
Yeah.
exactly.
It's going to be an issue for evacuations. It's going to be an issue for moving through here. So when the camera does kind of go through the crowd and find you, what problem are you dealing with right now? Like when we first see you, what are we dealing with, and how do we see your method of problem solving?
I think there has been a confrontation with are we allied with the Klingons at this point?
Yes.
Okay, so there is a Klingon warrior who's like kind of rightfully or righteously upset. And then there is a Tellarite settler who has this one of these little things that you wear on your body. I don't know how to say this in English. I'm sorry, but he's yelling at Castor because apparently the Klingon attacked him. The Klingon is like he would not attack a worm like that, basically, which is not exactly helpful. And Castor, just, you can see the headache building up just for a bit, but he remains calm. He talks both of them down, like there's no need for that language. Could it have been just an accident? Maybe you were not looking and then you ran into this fine gentleman here. And yes, I know your fish are on the ground, and they are not getting better if they remain on the ground, 3-second rule.
And I think there is that the Federation solution, the no one's happy, it's a compromise. No one's
Yes.
happy, they walk
Yeah.
away,
Yeah.
a grumbling, but you've settled things down.
Mhm.
And I think I want to ask you, like, as you're standing there kind of looking around at the station and everything that's happening around there, we're going to get a X months ago or X years ago flashback for Castor. What is the flashback? What are we going to see that maybe tells us something more about where Castor was before this?
Yeah, I think this was before the war when Castro was not, he didn't have that many pips. He looks younger, but he is also a security person on duty. He looks very serious and earnest, more serious and earnest than now. Also, the thoroughfare is a lot less crowded. There are
Okay.
just shops. There is apparently a woman complaining to him about the cut of the Federation uniforms, which he doesn't like, and he's trying to react to that in an appropriate manner.
So we see that you've been here a while. We see that the station has changed. And yet, of course, when we come back to the present, everything's kind of in sort of the same place, so we get that mirroring of that before we'll definitely hear on the comms, Lieutenant Commander Castor to you know uh, command bridge, and we'll see you move along. And I think we cut from that to another part of the station to our sciences area, in particular the sciences and labs that have been set for, the research on the megastructure, for the research on Frankenstein 7. And Lal, uh, we see, uh, okay, so I'm going to have to X card your last name because it is too close to my name.
Well, we go with, yeah, I'll change it, but it's just Joran for now, right?
Okay, Duran. Okay. So Lieutenant Duran, we see the science area here. Uh, we'll see a number of the other science people. There is definitely a combination of some Starfleet people and a lot of civilian people, and our, NPC that we're going to see on screen here is uh, Dr. Isaruko Sulu. He's in charge of the civilian side of this and so on. Tell me something about this science area that you're in. Like, what are we seeing? Is it chaotic? Is it controlled? Like, what do we see on the screens? Like, what do you think is the visible thing here?
I think there is like an outside section of I think it's almost an entire floor, right, of the station, but the outside ring is like general sciences, like the normal stuff that would be here, and the inside, the inner sanctum, let's call it, is about uh, the object, the anomaly. So we have this very tight but quite orderly section where we're doing the experiments or the scans on these devices or artifacts that we've gotten.
And tell me something about this civilian doctor, Dr. Sulu. Like, what what is his manner? What is his style here in this moment?
Um, I think he is almost fixated on the sections that we know nothing about. Um, he'd rather kind of go into the complete unknown rather than make some some judgments about the sections that we know a little bit more about or we have a good frame of reference for. I think it's almost like he, wants to change topic every other day, you know, despite his appearance like a kid in a candy shop, right?
Okay.
That there's so much stuff, and we can do something new every hour. So yeah, a little bit, and maybe some of the other kind of more typical or traditional scientist types are a little bit annoyed at this. Let's just figure out, one thing at a time, Mr.
And
Sulu
and
or
and
Dr.
what
Sulu.
is when we come in, like, what is your disagreement, the argument that you're having with Dr. Sulu? Because you are probably one of the more senior, probably the most senior in this division from Starfleet itself.
Hmm.
So in a sense, it's you and him kind of at the potential loggerhead. So what is the argument going on right now between the two of you?
I think maybe the problem I want to solve, and maybe it's been going on for several weeks now, is the matter of these coded signals. Um, and we have lots of data, but I think it's going to require everyone to work on it for a period of time. to decode or find the origin of or find the meaning behind. Um, and this seems like I don't know, too practical, too down to earth for Dr. Sulu. And maybe
I
we're I guess we're arguing about him giving over staff members, even though maybe in the background we see some people nodding along with Duran. But yeah, it's boring for Sulu.
there's that bit where he's like, fine, fine, you can have two extra, computer cycles and to dedicate to this, just throwing you a few crumbs there. And I think you're kind of forced to nod. You've gotten something from him. You can press further later, but and then we get that flashback X months ago, X years ago. What are we going to see in that?
Um, I think maybe we see Duran and his crewmate from in that escape pod. I have named them Talan, a Vulcan um, on officer, and they are making a decision together about like lowering the energy on life support. So like bringing the temperature down, maybe not scrubbing the CO2 as much as they should in order to keep the signal going, right? That distress signal is kind of what's going to get them. And this kind of choosing the way you're going to die almost thing in Duran's mind.
Do we see the end of that with him passing, or is this kind of a setup that maybe later on in the series we'll see what actually came of that?
Yeah, I think we just see the kind of compromise or the decision they're making about their resources. That's the lead in that ties into the scene we just had with Sulu.
And I think we cut and we're in a very different place. We're very clearly aboard a starship, uh, and we see a sort of viewing area, like, gathering room, and we see come in Lieutenant Commander Bontali and Ensign Gop. And, you've been told that you're on the Indomitable. It is, approaching Starbase 66. You are, to take up your new duty stations there. And I think there's a little bit of surprise when the two of you come in. You heard there was going to be a major personnel transfer to the station. And I think you both realize that it's literally just the two of you. Um, and I think there's that awkward moment there that you're kind of both staring at each other across this room. Who breaks that silence?
Ensign Gop, is it? We haven't, even though we've been aboard this ship for quite a while, we haven't really interacted much. You're in engineering?
Uh, yes. I I'm being reassigned uh to the station. This is a big ship we're on, but am I to understand that this I was told that there were many personnel assignments going on, that I would that was the impression I got.
I was
I
also
seem
led,
to
I was also led to believe that there was going to be quite a large number of personnel being assigned to this station due to some recent events. But I think it's just you and me.
that's curious. Uh, Well, I mean, I'll make the best of it, but I thought for sure that there was something. Well, I was getting a little excited about the idea that we would be part of something new at the station, but it looks like, well, I guess they think we're important.
Suffice it to say, Ensign, that any assignment from Starfleet is an important assignment. I have confidence that Starfleet would not put us in these positions if we didn't have something valuable to contribute to these to the Station 66.
And
And
I
I think
think I'm going to cut you there for just a moment here because I do think, as you say, Station 66, Starbase 66, I think that on that view panel behind, we do see, the station kind of come into view and the megastructure come in, the sun behind it. Of course, they've done it strategically so it kind of lights and we get the silhouette and then it turns so we can see some more of it. And it's probably the first view GOP battalion that you've actually had of this thing. It is so much bigger than Station 66.
I was actually just about to say that Gop was looking at was trying to get a view of the new assignment, but yeah, there it is, and um, Gop looks at it and says, um, "Well, um, if you look at the station next to that mammoth structure, it kind of puts things in perspective, doesn't it? I mean that that's the mystery that hangs over this. I heard them say that it was larger than the station, but not by that order of magnitude.
It is uh, it is going to be an interesting challenge to make heads or tails of what this is all about. There's a lot of interest across the quadrant and beyond in this object. And I think not only will we have to manage the scientific endeavor of understanding what this thing is, but also the political endeavor of keeping all the groups who are interested in it, let's say, stable.
And Batali, I think that's a moment where we get that flashback to maybe like 13 days ago.
Right.
Tell us about the briefing that Starfleet intelligence. How did that happen? What do we see on screen? What gives us the sinister vibe to it a little bit?
Um, I think I was sort of picturing it happening in the captain's ready room, and um, I show up for my usual one-on-one or whatever with the captain, and uh, there's some higher-ranking folks in there as well, and they provide a description of kind of the station and then this new uh, object. And after they do that, the captain gets up and leaves and says something along the lines of, "We're getting to the part where the information is need to know, and I don't need to know." And the captain leaves, and right, Admiral Exposition. It's sort of like the admiral then. Uh, um, the admiral is quiet. It's the kind of Federation intelligence person. I don't know if we've ever seen folks like that. I think these are not necessarily Starfleet people. These are Federation people. So maybe they have different uniforms or they're dressed all in black, something like that. Um, um, if it made sense for them to have sunglasses on a starship, they would be wearing sunglasses. Anyway, they at that point give me my assignment, but it's really only in the present when I see the thing that I've sort of like put two and two together because I didn't understand the scale or the complexity of this object. So I think part of the thing that you see on Bantali's face is this kind of recognition of, oh, this is kind of a big deal.
And as you kind of are realizing that, the two of you will, Ensign Gop, Lieutenant Commander, but Montali report to Transporter Room 2.
Well, Ensign, I guess this is it.
Well, I guess it's it for at least a short while for sure, you know. Yeah. It's nice to meet you, Lieutenant Commander. I'm sure we will have more opportunities to meet and get to know each other.
And Gop, when it does your flashback, what do we see for that? Like how long ago and what do we see of you? Is it before you joined Starfleet? Is it more recent times? What do we see?
Um, it could be a kind of distant flashback to it could be a distant flashback to when I was first entering Starfleet and was with my parents, who had just seen me graduate and had heard about my first assignment aboard a science vessel.
And your parents, your your father looking away, and your mother coming over and saying, "Very proud of you. Uh, the, your father has generously offered 30 bars of gold pressed latinum, if you will return back to Ferengi with us, and give up your dream."
Well, that is a generous offer, but
He makes such a generous offer because he knows how important this is to you.
yes, but 30 bars of latinum, generous as it may be, there are larger profits and more shining. There's a more shining future in front of me. My father always taught me good business sense, and he always told me that you never take your first offer, because the first offer is usually underselling things by quite a bit. So taking that bit of wisdom from my father to heart, I will acknowledge the offer of 30, but I must at least for now put it aside, because there's a big offer, a larger offer awaiting me.
And your mother nods, and your father, who's been like overhearing all of this, just kind of, yep, well, at least you learned something. Yes, you go out with your Starfleet, and 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 does in that kind of grudging way, kind of acknowledges you, and then heads off. And we cut to the two of you being transported into one of the station's transporter rooms, and you will see that there are a bunch of people, Starfleet uniforms and some civilians, with their bags that are kind of standing by that are clearly leaving the station, like maybe a dozen and a half. And the first thing that you will see is this Benzite, who, has the pips of a lieutenant commander, will make their way up onto the platform, like even as you're just finishing transporting in, and is looking around kind of guiltily, and he'll look at both of you and say, "Welcome." And you'll hear, "Clear the deck. You two, over there."
Okay, and I'll say under my breath to the lieutenant commander, well, that clearly they need the big ship, not for us, not for who they were taking to the station. It's a big ship for who they're taking away.
I think we learned where the big personnel transfer is happening.
And we'll see that first group of a half dozen get on and get transported away. Uh, Caster, tell me about the command bridge. I don't know how much we've seen of a command bridge on a station. In some ways, I'm imagining like a traffic control center, but tell me something about the the bridge for the station.
I think this is a mishmash, I think, of different federations. This is a federation station, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a mishmash of different iterations of federation chic. I think what we also will see that is that the lighting is a bit off today. It's a little yellowy because I think the AI has decided that people need more sunlight or something. So you will see some people with sunscreen because it's not that great for everyone.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of almost cheery with that light though. And it is the chairs are all a little different, but somebody has at least made some effort to clean up the control panels so that they work on the same specifications, right? Nothing is busy. Things are beeping. There's a lot of communication.
And the door to the commander's, the administrator's ready room will open, and you see Morale with a pad, and she's saying, "Don't let him leave. Don't, no. You've already transported him off. No." And then Morale will look up at you. Scylla, I understand there was an issue with a Klingon on the mall.
Uh, it's it was just a misunderstanding, administrator. Easily solved.
Uh, this next few cycles, I want you to go through and review all the licenses. See if there's any that we can pull from the vendors for any technicalities. We need to get that cleaned up. I have a briefing. I want you there at 0300 hours.
Okay.
Senior personnel, we've got new staff arriving.
Okay. Yes, I will be there. I will look at the licenses. I mean, I've looked at the licenses before, but
I know.
But maybe, maybe I can look at our hygiene requirements again.
Absolutely. As well, get your people to do a full census of those minor colonists that were brought aboard. We've had some issues there, and I want to make sure that they are all accounted for.
Now, what kind of issues?
I'll explain at the briefing.
Okay.
And uh, she will head off in another direction.
Hmm.
Uh,
She's nervous, right?
she she seems angry more than
Oh,
nervous,
okay. Interesting.
and is heading off. She's usually a lot more
Hmm.
reserved, but clearly something has happened to upset her.
Okay. Interesting.
Uh, Lieutenant Giron, uh, you finished up with sciences. You know that there's a briefing you've been called to along with Dr. Sulu, at 0300 hours. Uh, what do we see of you in in the meantime? Like, what do we see that tells us about your like life here on the station?
Yeah, uh, I think I am wandering through um, uh, all of these stalls, all of these vendors that have previously annoyed our security officer. And
Hmm.
I have a shopping bag and I'm picking up various bits and pieces and quite enjoying the press and the hubbub and maybe the haggling over how much, a quartum of whatever this spice is, So yeah, and maybe I bring the shopping and leave it in the corner at the briefing because I don't want to go back to my quarters and then come back. It's easier
Absolutely.
just to show up with the shopping.
I think that part of the problem that has happened with these stalls and things like that, and the closed off section is it's made it so there are certain things that ought to be just a turbo lift away that are not, that require, I've got to go over to level 7 and go up 2 floors and then go up the stairs and then I can get the elevator from there kind of thing. Uh, Bontali. I think we see you. You've been given orders to meet with Chief Zarif, and you've been given directions. And the directions are more specific than you would have expected. Again, it is go to this level, take this turbo lift, go down this way, take here, go to, and you find it yourself at this office kind of thing.
He's chief of what?
You're not sure.
Okay.
Uh, and you kind of hit the thing and you'll hear that kind of gruff Tellarite voice, enter.
Chief Lieutenant Commander Bontali reporting for duty.
Ah, excellent. And you see that he's packing his bags, he's getting things set.
Are you moving offices, sir?
Ah, Lieutenant Commander Bontali, logistics specialist. I've read your background, your folio. Very excellent. You'll be a suitable replacement for me.
Oh, are you vacating your post?
Ah, I have been I have been scheduled for retirement for 17 months, and only now have they actually gotten me a replacement.
Are you saying that um, uh, the, the Starfleet frequently forgets that Station 66 exists?
Uh, I think it was first forgetting, and then it was a war. Uh,
Yeah, war will do that.
yes, but I've left you a stack of pads with the logistical details here. The officers that'll be serving under you as Chief of Operations and Logistics.
Um, Chief Zaref, may I ask? I noticed there are many people leaving the station, even in the moment when the station might need more personnel to support the influx of traffic and people and groups. to deal with some of the kind of very obvious anomaly. Why are so many people leaving?
Ah, you're observant. I like that. Uh, I'll pause and he will say, some of them want to be out there on the front lines.
Hmm.
There are Starfleet personnel who have had friends, colleagues, people they went to academy with who have suffered in this, and they don't want to be here on the back. There are some, though, that want to return back to their homes if the war does not go well. They want to be closer to their home system. And he'll pause, and you see him do that Tellarite thing where they kind of pause to pull their thoughts together about how they're now going to say this next bit. There are some people who are unsuited for the freewheeling nature of work here on Station 66.
And my guess is that the nature has become even more freewheeling.
There have been a redirecting of priorities that have changed the dynamic upon the station. We've had an influx of refugees. We've had an influx of outsiders, new diplomats arriving, scientists. It is a lot. And while Administrator Morale is capable and and much more calculating than she would lead you to believe, there's a lot to handle.
I understand. I reach into my bag and I pull out an actual book, printed book, and I say, uh, I always keep my copy of Interstellar Supply Chain Management in the 24th Century handy.
Good, good.
And, and it would be an honor, sir, if you were to sign my copy since you wrote it and it is now standard text in all logistics classes at the Academy.
I will gladly sign that for you. Uh, I will
I'm
leave
sorry.
you my subspace com
Thank you.
ident if you need anything, and you will. Uh, please feel free to call me.
I will. I endeavor not to bother you in your retirement.
Keep that thought for as long as you can, because it will go away. And Ensign Gop, you will find yourself in engineering. We've seen the engineering sections of a variety of starships, right? Like we've seen the warp core and all of that. What is the engineering section for a starbase like? Like what's different? What do we see here?
Well, I think, Ensign Goff remembers back at Starfleet starting to study things like propulsion systems and um, engineering matters. And, star bases and orbiting objects were always kind of early chapters because they were so simple, right? It's kind of like this is where you start to learn before you get to the complicated stuff. And so, Gop walks in and she says, well, it kind of looks like what I would expect from an orbiting, an orbiting satellite. And she'll start walking around and, looking at the system, but you can see that her face is looking a little disappointed just because it's not exciting to her.
And you hear raised voices, and you will look and you will see that there are two engineers both lieutenants, who are arguing with one another, and they have a couple of people behind them. Like it almost looks like two engineering gangs arguing, and the one's going, she has experience in electroplasma systems, power systems. She's on my team. My team. No. Did you see that the helm specialization signals telemetry? No, no, she's on my team. My team. And there's just this argument raging back and forth there. What do you do, Gop?
Um, she listens to it briefly, and um, then she clears her voice.
And there's a kind of a silence that falls there, and the two sort of senior engineering people will kind of do the shirt pull, and turn to look at you. Ensign Gop, well, welcome.
Yes, it is Ensign Gop, and thank you for the insight into how the engineering team operates.
I apologize for my colleague. No, I apologize for my colleague. And I think there's a kind of a back and forth before finally one of them says, we have a number of engineering teams on board ship. The station. We are stretched a little thin. You're the first engineer we've been provided in a while. So we're just really, really excited to have you.
Well, you say you're stretched thin. Why don't I think I can handle your needs in engineering. I know that you were trying to decide where to put me. Why don't you put me where you think you are stretched the thinnest?
And I think that there's a nod, and then they start arguing with each other about who is stretched more thin. I think in that kind of one-upsmanship thing. Before you will get the comms, Ensign Gop, report to briefing room 1.
And so when she sees that, she says, um, I'll be happy. She says, I'll be happy to continue this discussion further, but I have just been called to my first briefing.
And we cut to a station briefing room. Dan, tell me something about this station briefing room. Like, what is the visual difference from our usual, Enterprise, Voyager, meeting room here?
I think it's been repurposed from someone's office. So we had to use the briefing room, the actual briefing room, for something else to store some supplies. So now we're using this old office that we don't really even remember who used to be in this office. So it's a little cramped in here.
A little cramped. There's the fact that the chairs are around the kind of the outside of the room. There is a desk that's been pushed back.
Right.
There are a couple of small tables, and we'll see all four of you, in gathered in that area, and it's you, but we'll also see uh, our administrator. We'll see Dr. Sulu, and some other people. The people who are some of our supporting characters we're going to get eventually. And I think it is Gop. You had the farthest to come, so I think you are the last one in. Um, Castor, like in a meeting like this, in this briefing room, it's kind of a little bit like jammed in. Uh, what do we see? Like, what's your stance? How are you? Are you seated? Are you standing? What do we see there?
Well, I think I'm standing. I'm fine standing. I will stand at the wall, maybe lift myself on my uh, toe tips, just like doing a little physical exercise here in a non-obtrusive way, though, waiting for everyone to go around, maybe making small chit chat or small talk with somebody who's amenable to that, just like trying to set the room at ease. Maybe have some tea. Maybe he's got some tea in his hand and is manning the replicator and trying to figure out what each person might like.
Okay. And Huron, you come in, set your bags down in the corner.
Yeah, and maybe I don't like um the replicator tea. And maybe I pull out a flask, which I have prepared in advance. And I'll look around for someone else who might drink the other half of this flask. Um,
I think you'll see the door open and this Andorian woman probably stop as if to think, am I in the right place? And Bantali, you'll see this.
and I'll wave her in because
Yeah,
no one arrives here who doesn't mean to. It's out of the way.
yeah. This is our meeting room. You're right here. You're right where you're meant to be. I think I know who's arriving at the station, right, as head of security. So I'd say you're Lieutenant Commander Montali?
Uh, I am a new operations officer. I feel like maybe the first thing I should do is find us a bigger briefing room.
If you can do that, more power to you. But we are stretched thin on good meeting rooms. You want some, what would you like to have for a drink? We have a replicator, but also Lieutenant Joram has very fine tea.
Um, sure. Coffee.
Okay. And I will order that, and I will say I forgot to introduce myself. I apologize. I'm Castor Skilla, Lieutenant Commander Castor Skilla, head of security of the station.
It's nice to meet you, Lieutenant Commander. You and I should probably have a briefing at some point so we can discuss the finer points of the intersection between logistics and security. I had to walk
Absolutely.
through what appeared to be a marketplace to get
Yes.
here.
Yep. That is our thoroughfare or mall. People give it different names. There are a lot of concessions.
I I couldn't help but notice that many of the stalls did not conform to Starfleet regulations.
That's the beauty of these concessions. They don't have to.
Beauty is definitely one word for it.
I did not invent the system, but it has its charms.
The word concession says a lot, I
Doing a lot
find.
of lifting.
Mhm.
And then I think the door will open and Ensign Gop, you'll come in, crowded room, a lot of officers in here.
Yeah, and I think, seeing that, Gop, she's gonna, go to the periphery, since she sees, right? I mean, she's kind of looking around to see if she sees any other ensigns in the room.
No.
And, she's uncomfortable, but she does say out loud, but under her breath, says, "Well, at least they're not arguing in the dysfunctional way that I had in engineering. I can probably I can probably handle this." And she will work her way over to the replicator, though, seeing that tea is being and drinks are being passed out, she'll kind of go over there. And Lieutenant Commander Scylla, are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I will look at you because you are a newcomer, and I will give you a smile.
Hello, I'm Ensign Gop. I just arrived and was told to report here.
Oh, welcome to the station. The administrator will be with us shortly. I am Lieutenant Commander Castor Scylla, and I'm the head of security. Make yourself as home as best you can. We are a little informal here, as you can see.
Okay. It's nice to meet you. And she'll kind of just work her way. She'll kind of observe. She'll, with her attuned Ferengi hearing, will kind of listen in, kind of try without having to introduce herself, learn some names, and kind of assess who is in the room.
You will see that there are like several pads that are set up, like there are certain personnel who are not here, but they're, phoning in for the meeting kind of thing. Uh, and I think then the door will open and we will see the Denobulan, Administrator Morale. She will come in. She'll greet everyone. She will come over to where the desk is, walks over to Scylla. Scylla will take whatever tea you hand her, and she will go over to the main desk and she will go, good afternoon. So, as some of you probably already saw, the Indomitable was just here. Uh, Chief Zarif has finally been permitted to take his retirement, and I think you hear a lot of groaning all around there. Uh, we'll come back to that in just a second. Unfortunately, Dr. Geritod, apparently he got approval for his transfer and neglected to inform me or anyone else, and has already transported over to the Indomitable. For everyone, just be aware that means that we are short-staffed. We no longer have a chief medical officer. We are going to be short-staffed in sick bay. That means any of you with medical training may be called up. I will be pulling through your records on that. If you've got significant skills in that area, you may be assigned there. Nurse Merriweather, and she'll point over to one of the pads, is in the meantime going to be handling administration and duties there. I wish Nurse Merriweather the best of luck. As you know, that variant Rigelian fever that broke out last week has been contained, and we hope to keep it that way. Remember to wash your hands everywhere. So, our requests for personnel have been seen and approved, and we received a tiny fraction of the personnel that we asked for. I would like to introduce our two new staff members. Lieutenant Commander Bontali, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Commander Bontali. I'm an expert in supply and logistics. I was really excited to get this assignment, and the few of you that I've met already, I can tell are going to be become good friends and good colleagues, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. I've already been keeping a list of some of the immediate needs for the station, and my intent is to get to work on that right away. Sourcing a chief medical officer just moved to the top of that list.
And I think there is a mix of, okay, that sounds good, and people like trying not to laugh
Right.
at you in the meeting.
Good luck, lady.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. I take it that Chief Zarif handed off materials to you?
Yes, I've got all the records from Chief Zaref. Can I assume that I will be taking over his office?
Absolutely. He'll have his quarters. Uh, and you see her pause. You'll have his quarters. And that office he's been using is yours now.
Fantastic.
And then Ensign Gop.
And Gop comes steps forward out of the shadows that were.
And I think there is like from a number of people, like they see a Ferengi, they see a Ferengi woman, they see a Ferengi woman in Starfleet uniform, and there's definitely a lot of what the what?
Uh, Hello, everybody. I'm Ensign Gop, formerly from the science vessel Nautilus. I have been demo. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant assigned here uh, to assist with the engineering department. I've already been to the department, and I can see that um, there are, you know, places where I can prove myself to be very useful. Sorry to hear that things are, as the department says, stretched a bit thin, but even in the worst of times, someone can turn a profit. So I am sure I and the other people here will make the best of it. I certainly intend to.
And Marat said, well said, well said. Ensign, uh, I consider myself as the administrator here, the leader and the head of the family here on the station. And I hope that if you need anything, you'll come to see me. And let's make sure in the next few days that we get some time to sit down one-on-one together and talk. And I can give you some insight on engineering. And you see her look at several of the pads and tell you what you need to know and who to watch out for and what you need to do.
Oh, thank you. And Ensign is trying to follow her eyes as she does this. So you'll see, Gop kind of tracking along, right, as she's speaking to the different paths.
Uh, Let me give the rest of the briefing now. So we had another vessel attempt to make landing on the Tantalus object. This time they tried to come in from the planet and angle themselves on the opposite side. Luckily, one of the scrapper ships spotted them, and we managed to put a tractor on them. Uh, they're continuing to probe our defenses to try and get to the object. Uh, and Sulu like starts to raise his hand to say something, and she'll say, Dr. Sulu, we are not putting anyone from the station on the Tantalus object until we can't put anybody at risk until something changes. We're maintaining a holding pattern. Lieutenant Duran, do you agree?
Well, I mean, Dr. Sulu has kindly offered some of his personnel to help us in the signal decoding. And I think once we have that sorted, there's no reason why we can't send a team over. But yes, in uh, sure, morale. I mean, let's not investigate the greatest wonder to appear in our quadrant more closely. Um,
Your position is noted, Lieutenant Duran. I'm glad that you and Dr. Sulu are working together so closely on these things, and I appreciate the camaraderie there. The other thing to be aware of, we are expecting the arrival of an ISC representative, the Interstellar Concordium. They're a small empire adjoining some of the others in the area. They've been given private access, and we've set up a dual environment facility for them, according to their specs. And she'll pause and she'll say, everyone, the Iskians are notoriously private, and this is a major move for them to send us someone here in person. We're not sure the number of their party, but we've set up everything for them. This could be very important for Federation interrelations with these folk. Commander Castor, be aware that there is ongoing tensions between the ISC and the Lyrans and the Zinti.
I'm very well aware of that fact. I have already tried to reconfigure the surveillance routines. It's a little difficult because, well, you know, the AI thinks that is not necessary precaution, but I'm sure I can talk it into doing a little more.
Yeah. Lieutenant Duran, would you mind maybe giving Ensign Gopp a rundown and briefing on what we know about the object and what engineering is doing to boost sensor arrays? And Lieutenant Scylla, I will have you give Lieutenant Commander Bontali an explanation about the computer.
Yes, I will. I already have prepared some slides explaining. I will be very happy to share them with Ensign Gobb as well, because I think you might run into this issue.
And I think that like everybody except for you four are kind of dismissed. Moral kind of stays around to brief. So I want to give Duran, Gopp, Scylla a chance to kind of talk here a little bit.
Lieutenant Commander, about the computers. I mean, I know this is an engineering problem, but maybe I can help.
Maybe you can. It is actually, this is not just an engineering problem. We have an AI. It's a very good AI. I won't say anything else. It does a fantastic job. It's just very opinionated. It has some ideas that might seem a little idiosyncratic, to be generous. But you can argue with it. It has been known to be that it is possible to convince it to do things differently, or that what it is doing is not, in fact, helpful.
If you don't mind my asking, you say it's opinionated. Like, what are the opinions of the AI?
Sometimes the AI thinks that the elevators need maintenance, detailed maintenance. Sometimes the AI thinks that certain sections of the ship need to be shut down for security reasons, which I have often not been informed of and have to keep track of. It's a kind of a nightmare, but it's obviously it just wants to help. And that is basically the thing. It wants to help. It really, really wants to help, which is sometimes not entirely what we need. If the lighting changes color or tone, the AI has absorbed a new article about what lightning colors are nice for meat beings.
Oh, that sounds like it would occasionally be amusing, but at other points may be rather distressing.
Yes, I think you have put your finger right on the crux of the matter. It is occasionally amusing.
But those occasions are in the past, I think we can all agree. Well, apart from the people who haven't encountered it yet.
I mean, sometimes you have to develop a sense of humor when you're in the station.
Otherwise, there is always the front line.
Well, I mean, pretty sure there are some things in between, but yes. Frontline is worse, though. Thanks for putting that into perspective.
And it's just the three of us right now.
And Bontali.
Oh,
Four.
okay. I think Gop will say, in this, Gop will say to Lieutenant Joran, I am very interested in what you have, data that you've gathered about the Tantalus object. I might have some ideas.
What strikes you, having seen what you can see already?
Well,
there's a lot of data. I mean,
well, there's a lot of object there, but
there is a lot of object.
Yeah. Well, it seems like, so you sent ships over, but they've run into difficulties.
They have not sent ships over.
They have not sent ships over.
We're currently studying signals and material through a variety of remote means, but the closest we've gotten is some worker bees at 1.2 kilometers, and that is our current restrictions. And Administrator Morale, in her wisdom, will not appreciate any bending of that rule. But we have time. We have a lot of time. This star will not explode for several billion years. So,
And Lieutenant Commander Scylla, you will get a call from one of your people. Commander Scylla, we need you at Mall Crossway 3. Now we've got a situation
Okay.
with a Klingon situation.
Oh, great. I have to go and deal with the Klingon situation. Gentle people, will you excuse me?
For purposes of dramatics, I am sending along everybody with you on this moment here, if I may.
Sure.
Duran Gop will follow. You will find yourselves, we kind of do that hard cut down to the mall, and there are sections that are crossways that have, the Starbase kind of big glass panel, view screen out. And when the three of you arrive, you'll see there are a lot of people standing around. There are, looks like, a number of unconscious people.
Oh.
And you will see that there is a Klingon there, and they have a hold of someone. And they seem to have a device in their hand. And they are talking Klingon religion. They are talking archaic. They're calling about the halls of Storvakor. and they're comparing this device to, a demon from the other side, and they are clearly in a frenzy. They look like they have a bomb, and they are there close by this view panel.
Okay. And they're a Klingon, right?
Yes.
So being super friendly and nice, that does not do it here. So I think I will go up and to them and
Don't come any closer, or I will explode this device.
what kind of purpose does that serve?
We
Exactly.
will all go to the beyond.
Yeah, we won't though. I mean, you might damage a bit of the station, and you might kill a lot of people. How is this honorable exactly?
Jiran, Gop, what are you doing as Scylla begins to kind of engage this Klingon fanatic in this discussion?
Hmm. I mean, I am finding somewhere to put my shopping because
Okay.
obviously I brought it along, and I'll root through, and maybe I have some kind of Klingon fruit, and I'll take out my fruit knife and cut it open, and distractedly offer him half. Um, if you're going to Stovakar, we may as well eat first, right?
And Gop, what are you doing?
I think Gop backs that up and says that is true. And I've never seen such delicious looking fruit before.
So it feels to me like, Jiran, Gop, you're trying to create kind of a distracted trait here. Does that feel like an appropriate way to put that?
I think distract or diffuse, one or the other.
Jiran?
Yeah, I mean, distracted sounds about right.
So, uh, what do you want to roll to create this trait here?
Um, I mean, I guess this could be insight.
Okay.
Um, and is this
Command?
command? Yeah, I think seems about right.
So, insight plus command, do you have any focuses that would be appropriate for this?
I mean, I don't, but I ought to. Maybe it's time to roll out the first of a long line of hosts.
Absolutely.
So I think an old host and Azala, maybe they were what do we think is a good manned focus for this? I mean, there's this negotiate, almost like a preamble to a negotiate,
Okay.
um,
That
connect with your target.
that seems reasonable. So you're going to roll those 2d10, 20, and looking for a 12 or less with twos is two successes. And Singap, you we're going to get a help die. So you're going to roll 1d20. What do you want to roll this with?
So I'm rolling one, and so I'm looking for a single. I'm still. Am I looking for two?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to add your success to whatever successes Duran gets, is how
Right,
that's going to work.
right.
Does this feel like maybe insight or presence plus command?
Um, yes, I do think so. And does a focus help with this?
Yeah.
Because I
What
have persuasion as a focus.
perfect. So you're going to roll 1d20. You're going to
Mhm.
be looking for a 13 or less, and a 3 or less is going to be a crit. And
Okay.
Duran, you're going to roll your 2d20.
Right. Oh,
So
That
Donna
is
has a
one
success.
success.
all right. And then here comes. How do I turn off the hidden roll? That's a hidden roll thing.
Should be under settings.
wait a minute, let me see. So under
Let's
settings,
see here.
because that's coming up by default for some reason. It says hidden, but I mean, I can roll it and then
Yeah.
unhide it, I think, if it does it that way. I'll try to figure out then how to.
Sure.
So,
So that is a crit. So that is 3 successes.
Wow.
So you're going to create, basically what we create here is you're going to create a trait of distracted. And then because you got one more success than you needed, because to create a trait is always a 2 success thing, we're going to add a point of momentum to the pool.
Cool.
So you're talking to this Klingon, trying to talk them down. Scylla kind of tried to, which is not, you could tell, is not exactly going to work, but by kind of pausing and de-escalating a little, you could see that Jiran and Gop have in this weird, Klingon fruit talk have created a distraction for you. What do you want to do?
Thank you. So I think what I want to do here is I will say, well, wait a minute.
You have
If
an
we're-
opening here if you want to
Yeah,
try and get that
yes.
bomb or get that hostage away from them.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. He's lulled, right? A little with his fruit and distracted. So I think I will continue talking to him about like you're going to Sto-vo-kor. Do you have a death song? And then I will get close to him, and I will at one point I will try. Is he drunk or anything, or is he just a fanatic?
No, he's just like, you could see
Okay.
his eyes look crazed. He's talking about hearing the song of the megastructure, hearing it sing to him.
Okay.
So how about daring plus security?
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah.
Hand to hand, I assume?
Yeah, I hand.
Okay.
Exactly.
Do you want to spend that momentum?
Yeah, of course I do.
So 3d20,
Okay.
14 or less, 5 or less is a...
Okay. Let me see if I can do it like that. I can do it like that. There's no ship's die, right? No.
Nope.
No. There is a 6 that it's not 14, right? So it's 2 successes.
2 successes with,
yeah.
It would have been difficulty 3, but with the distracted, that brings it down to 2.
Okay.
And I think that you can get close and lunge, and tell me how you get that device away from him.
I think, as he's kind of mumbling about his death song and Sto-vo-kor and stuff like that, and I'm coming closer. I don't think he realizes how close I am to him until I just step over, take the bomb from his hand. This is not even super aggressive. I'm just taking it out I'm taking this now, okay? And then with the same movement, I will kind of trip him, like put my leg between his and just shove him not too hard down so he lets go of
the
the
Klingon. He hits the ground hard as you do that motion, as you get that. People have kind of fallen back because there was potential for a bomb. You've got a hold of it. Bantali, you've kind of followed down as security perimeter got called down to the mall to deal with this, and there was a Klingon with a bomb. They're kind of standing in front of a big, panel screen. We can see the megastructure behind. Jiran, Gop distracted the Klingon, but you're not looking at that anymore. You're looking at the megastructure, because you will see as it turns, you will see one of those bubbles on that bubbled section of the ship burst and break open, and you will see fragments start to kind of fly out. And even from here, as you're looking down into it, you can see what seems to be some sort of entryway into the structure.
Mm.
Are the fragments heading towards us?
Seems to be kind of scattering out. It's going to hit the shields. It's going to hit the atmosphere.
Um, I grab Lieutenant Commander Castor's shoulder
Mhm.
while they're distracted, and I'm like, Lieutenant Commander?
And I think that is the thing. I think you draw the attention, you point, and people who have been focused on this bomb and this Klingon will look up, and all of you will see that happen with the megastructure. And I think that's when we cut to the to be continued card for our next episode.
Cool.
And that is where we'll take up next time, if that seems reasonable to folks. I would like to do a quick stars and wishes, if you don't mind. Bontali.
Sorry, I had to step away for a
Okay.
little bit. That was really great. I'm really excited to play this character. She's a little different from what I normally play. Uh, I star to Lowell for this scenario. I think this is really cool. There's a lot going on. In some ways, it feels very un-Star Trek because there's a lack of resources, and that almost never seems to be a problem on most Star Trek shows. Um, so I'm excited to play that out. I would say I have a wish. I'd like to do a scene where Bantali has to sort of convey to the station administrator what her orders are from Federation intelligence.
Okay.
And sort of she needs to divulge her identity to the most senior ranking person. So I'd like to kind of play that scene. That's among my wishes.
Okay. We'll definitely get that. And Joran.
Yeah, really happy with the setup of, the planet, the station, the anomaly. There's a lot of juice to be squeezed, and yeah, looking forward to finding out a little bit more about our very interesting cast of characters. And obviously stepping afoot the anomaly too. So yeah, yeah, I'm really happy with the like slightly odd selection of people we have, right? So there's a reason that we're not on the front lines. That's
Hmm.
we're like a slightly upranked lower decks kind of crew, right?
There's a little bit of that. Yeah. Anything wishes wise?
No, not especially. Just
Okay.
I'm looking at other people's B plots and I'm excited. So
Okay. Yeah, if you have a chance to get those in there, I'll take a look through those over the course of the coming week. Gop.
Yeah, thanks, Lowell, for putting this on the calendar and running it. I don't think I've played the D20 system before, and I think we got a little taste of it, and I've read some of the quick start, and so got a little sense of how it works. But I'm kind of excited to try out that system. Yeah, and I just like the scenario, and I like the mix of personalities that we're getting. There's I think a lot of variety that we bring with these different characters. I would say with the ending that Gop seeing that kind of opening in the um, Tantalus structure, she's kind of wondering if that's her opening as well, because she's thinking about have to talk to perhaps the Lieutenant Joran about the ship idea now. And I'm good with small vessels, and let let him know that you know there might be some advantage figuring out a way to get a small vessel with some improved sensor ability close.
I love it. Anything wishes wise?
Um, I no, I just think, I mean, my wish is, I guess partly just to see how GOP kind of lands in terms of her
Right,
assignment, because things don't seem to be settled very much in the
right.
engineering area. So it's a little bit of a whirlwind down there, I think.
And Caster.
Yeah, star-wise, this was lovely. I like the superstructure we made. I like the station, and I like the concession stands. I'm sure that that will not create any problems whatsoever. And I like the setup. I like the way we were interacting at the briefing room. That was also fun, and I liked meeting these new people. And that would be a wish to meet them more, I guess. I like talk to people. I would also be interested in the whole crisis with the medical stuff, because I have the feeling that security personnel usually has at least some medical training. So there might be some interesting surgeries there. So yeah. And also, of course, I'm very excited about the exploring the superstructure. Castor might not be that excited. Castor might be like, "Oh no, this is another thing that happens now that I have to probably take into account." Okay, fine. At least I'm not on the front lines anymore.
Excellent. And maybe next time we'll start building some of the supporting cast.
Mhm.
If we get some of those secondary characters in there. Thank you very much, everyone. I am going to stop the recording.